I am not an animal. I am a human being. I am a man. The Elephant Man is David Lynch's second feature film and stars Anthony Hopkins and John Hurt. The Elephant Man is the true story of John Merrick, a man born with many deformities who is part of a circus act, and he is found by a doctor played by Anthony Hopkins who helps him to enter the normal world. And from there, the movie follows John Merrick as he transitions from circus freak to an upstanding citizen. Alright, I'll say right off the bat that David Lynch's second film, The Elephant Man, is far more conventional than his first film, Eraserhead. The Elephant Man feels more like a normal movie rather than something very avant-garde, which is what Eraserhead was. And what's really different about The Elephant Man is it doesn't feel like a movie that came out in 1980. David Lynch does something very different with the style of this film. It feels more like a 1930s horror film than something made in the 1980s. It is very much like Phantom of the Opera or Hunchback of Notre Dame or any of those movies with Charles Laughton. It's really different, and it's a welcome change from any movie that was coming out around the late 70s and early 80s. David Lynch proved himself with Eraserhead, but he solidified himself with this film. This shows that he is truly a filmmaker because of what he was able to accomplish in this film. But The Elephant Man is far more than a movie that replicates the 1930s style of the old horror films. It's also a very human and depressing and sad film. This movie is a real tearjerker at points, and that's brought about by some terrific performances by Anthony Hopkins and John Hurt. Anthony Hopkins and John Hurt are amazing in this film. Now, first off, I'll talk about Anthony Hopkins in this film. He's incredible. I've never seen a performance like this out of him before. I've seen him as Hannibal Lecter before, but I've never seen a role like this where he just embodies a man that's trying to do the right thing, but maybe he's not. Maybe he's actually creating a bigger problem than he thinks he is. And it's great just seeing him in these scenes with John Hurt as he's trying to help this man go into the world. It's just really, really terrific stuff. And David Lynch gets one of the best performances out of Anthony Hopkins in this film. There's a scene early on in the film where Anthony Hopkins visits the circus and he sees the Elephant Man for the first time, John Merrick. And just, there's no dialogue. It's just the camera sitting on Anthony Hopkins as he's looking at this man appearing before him. You just see this look in his eyes. You just see his eyes glow with sadness, fear, and it's incredible acting. It's an incredible performance. However, his performance never outshines that of John Hurt. John Hurt is amazing in this film. I've seen him in many movies before, and I've always liked him, but I've never loved him. This film made me love John Hurt as an actor. Just what he was able to do in this film with just the restraints that he had in making a performance is just, it's just great stuff. Because in the film, he has to wear this large prosthetic mask over his face, so you never really see John Hurt's face through the entire movie. What he was able to do with this performance is just, you gotta give him props for what he was able to accomplish. And I've actually heard that he actually really hated wearing that mask. He thought it hindered his performance, but no, it increased his performance. He's fantastic in it. And in his scenes with just silence, you really see some really terrific acting. and it's all through the eyes. As we know, acting is all through the eyes. And in the film, you can only see John Hurt's eyes because the rest is covered by just this incredibly great mask made for this film. And it's just great to see him work in it. Now, this film was celebrated upon release, and many people loved it, but there were some of its haters, and one of them was Roger Ebert, who didn't really care for the film. He didn't know what it was trying to say, because he thought that the movie was trying to have us cheer on John Merrick, to make him be an upstanding citizen, to make him be seen. We want to see him in society and everything, but he says the movie doesn't have much to say on it. But I think that's completely wrong. I think this movie has more to say than just showing John Merrick enter society and be accepted. It's more not about John Merrick himself, the Elephant Man. It's more about showing that the human race is filled with monsters that will look at people one way and judge them because of it. The film is a perfect representation of how we look at people that are different, and it shows the darker sides of that. And also, while watching the film, I couldn't help but notice that several films that I have seen in the past have paid homage to this film. There's a scene in the film where John Merrick is making a replica of a cathedral that he can see from outside his window. But he doesn't know exactly what it completely looks like because he can only see part of it from his window. And he spends a lot of time in the movie building this replica of a cathedral in his room. And it reminded me a lot of the animated Disney film Hunchback of Notre Dame, where Quasimodo builds a replica of the Notre Dame Cathedral. So that was a little cool callback to the Elephant Man. And I'm really glad that a lot of films have taken inspiration from the Elephant Man because it is an incredible movie. I've never been affected by a film the way I was with Elephant Man. I've been affected many ways with many films, and each time it's different. The Elephant Man is just an incredible emotional journey through this man's life, and John Hurt and Anthony Hopkins give some of the best performances I've ever seen from them. And David Lynch has proven to me that he can make just incredible films that transport you into another reality altogether. David Lynch, you have created a masterpiece here and a true classic. This film is just wrought with so many emotional moments and just great performances. I just love this movie to death. And actually, I was originally going to give this film a 9 out of 10 because there is some parts in the film where it does get a little slow, but I just can't do that. And that's why The Elephant Man gets a 10 out of 10. Guys, I say you should check out The Elephant Man if you're interested. It's definitely one of the easier films to get into if you're planning on watching any David Lynch films. You can watch it on Amazon Prime if you want. It's right there. It's free. So I'd say check it out because it's an incredible film. But anyway, guys, with all that said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review.